Tennessee judge ordered the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from criminal custody. He's the Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, but he's not expected to go free. Prosecutors said U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement would take Abrego Garcia into custody while he awaits federal trial on human smuggling charges. Let's bring in CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez, who's following all our immigration headlines for us. Camilo, thanks for your time today. On what grounds could ICE actually detain Abrego Garcia?
Well, Mugo, even though the Justice Department's motion and request to have Mr. Abrego Garcia be detained pending the start of his criminal trial in Nashville, he will likely not be able to go back to his family in Maryland, where his U.S. citizen child and wife live, and that is because there are several legal cases that will decide his future and fate here in the U.S. Mr. Abrego Garcia, of course, faces those federal criminal charges that you mentioned and referenced, Mugo, that allege that he allegedly smuggled and transported undocumented immigrants in the U.S. from Latin America, and that he broke federal laws in the process. But he also faces a deportation case, a civil immigration case, because the government alleges that Mr. Abrego Garcia lacks a legal status here in the U.S. and that he entered the country unlawfully when he first arrived here as a teenager back in 2011. And so that case will continue. An immigration judge will decide whether or not Mr. Abrego Garcia has the legal right to stay in the U.S. and whether the government can deport him to El Salvador or to a third country. And in that process, he will likely be detained by ICE. Mugo.
Camilo, I want to ask you about a different case, because after spending more than 100 days at an ICE detention facility in Louisiana, Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil was released yesterday. He returned to his former school and he spoke at a rally. He accused the Trump administration of portraying him as a violent protester. Let's listen to a clip of how he sees himself.
Mahmoud Khalil is a human rights defender. Mahmoud Khalil is a freedom fighter. Mahmoud Khalil is a refugee. Mahmoud Khalil is a father and husband. And above all, Mahmoud Khalil is Palestinian.
Wow, you can hear the passion in his statement there. As of now, Camilo, Khalil is still fighting his deportation case. Do we know where things stand right now?
Well, Mr. Khalil won a major victory in federal court in New Jersey last week when a federal judge said that ICE and the Trump administration did not have sufficient legal grounds to continue holding him at an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. But Mr. Khalil still has a pending and ongoing immigration case that has not been fully adjudicated. And Mugo, an immigration judge in Louisiana, has already found Mr. Khalil to be deportable from the U.S. based on two grounds. The one ground that she found him deportable on is that he allegedly committed immigration fraud by failing to disclose certain information in his green card application. And the other second ground is that he allegedly undermines U.S. foreign policy because of his pro-Palestinian advocacy. That is tied to the invocation of this little-known statute by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So that immigration case will continue, but he will now be able to fight it civilly outside of ICE detention.
But in the meantime, how is the U.S. government responding to his release?
Well, the White House put out a statement, Mugo, saying that Mr. Khalil is deportable because of the two deportation grounds that I mentioned, that he allegedly committed immigration fraud and that he undermines American foreign policy. And the White House said very bluntly that they are looking forward, quote unquote, to deporting Mr. Khalil from the U.S. So the deportation case against him is still very much alive and could have repercussions in the future.
Yeah, we'll continue to wait and see how that case plays out. We know you'll stay on top of it. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much for your reporting.
Thanks, Mugo.